Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Kalakars Atta, and in today's video we are going to talk about Mr. Khan. Well, yes, Mr. Genghis Khan and the rise of Mongol Empire. The 13th century warlord whose military campaigns killed millions and left nothing but destruction in their wake. He forged the greatest empire the world had ever seen, eventually stretching from the Pacific to Europe's heartland. Genghis was born a member of the Borjigin tribe in 1162 AD and was a descendant of the fabled Kabul Khan, who had united the many disparate tribes against the Jin dynasty of China 6 decades earlier. His childhood name was Temujin, who was the son of tribal warrior chief. His father was poisoned by a rival tribe and died when Temujin was 10. Their tribe deserted the family, and from that day he left his childhood and wanted to kill his father's killers. Being the eldest son, he took care of his family, and at the same time, he knew that to survive, he has to form alliance with other tribes. He formed alliances with other tribes by marrying their tribal women. His first wife was named Borte. The great tribes of Mongolia were caught in spiral of murderous blood feud. He had his best friend called Jamukha, who he trusted the most. They were blood brothers and had taken the vow together to take revenge. At the age of 20, he defeated all the tribes one by one brutally, starting with the Taichud tribe, Tatars tribe, Naiman tribe, and after that he controlled the whole Mongolia. After this victory, there was a gap between Temujin and Jamukha for being the leader of the army. Jamukha split the tribe, which feared Temujin because disunity happened again. The feud amongst them led to a brutal war again and again. Temujin was building a professional fighting machine from the top down, and he appointed an elite officer called Kashyak as his commander-in-chief. Training in archery and horsemanship was compulsory for all to attain maximum accuracy. He built a modern army. In 1200, Temujin rode west to confront his blood brother. In the foothills of the Khangai Mountains, their cavalry attacked without mercy. Each tactic was meticulously planned. In the heart of the battle, Jamukha saw his army destroyed, so he ran but later was killed. Temujin won the battle. The recognition of one man as the leader of all Mongol tribes, and in 1206 a new title was created to honor him: Universal King and Ruler of all men, Genghis Khan. Now to the east lay the great empire of China, which was his biggest enemy, and they would not tolerate such a powerful leader on their border. In a campaign, he led his army of 50,000 Mongols on one of the most audacious military actions in history. Across the Gobi Desert, he invaded northern China. The Chinese were rich and most civilized people in the east, but they knew how to fight a dirty war. Reinforced by the mercenary troops, they marched on into the fertile plains of northern China. The Mongols plundered without mercy, and from each conquest, Genghis Khan enjoyed his win. In the 13th century, Beijing was the most sophisticated and rich city and capital of northern China due to its grand palaces, gilded temples, and markets overflowing with silks and spices. The Mongols stopped the supply in China by sitting along the border. They built catapults and battering rams from Chinese engineers to siege warfare. Genghis Khan turned Beijing into a prison and thousands starved to death. Finally, his army was ready to attack. Despite of starvation, the Chinese army general controlled a formidable garrison with powerful array of weapons. After a long battle, they destroyed everything and captured the city. Genghis Khan ordered total annihilation for 1 month. The streets were slippery with human fat, and beyond the walls stood an entire mountain of bones. Northern China lost two-thirds of its population due to Genghis Khan's conquest. They wiped out entire cities along with their inhabitants.
Genghis Khan's fearsome reputation grew from destruction and carnage he practiced in Beijing, and later he made Karakoram a great trading and cultural center. Chinese citizens were brought here to teach the great secrets of their culture. He established a medical corporation trained by Chinese physicians. They learned the technology of the Chinese military. Above all, Genghis Khan wanted to leave a lasting legacy, so he understood the power of writing. He ordered his imperial court to create a record of all his judgments, which are available even today. He formed a separate legal system, and each tribe was granted its own land. He wanted to bring law and order. He looked west to develop the trading links. He sent ambassadors to Persia, and he established a network of routes joined by staging posts. In the summer of 1218, one of the messengers from Khwarizm dynasty in Persia carried a package of the head of Genghis Khan's ambassador. Genghis Khan, being furious, sent an army of 200,000 strong to invade Persia. On his order, every Persian town that did not submit was burned to the ground. After the conquest of Persia, Genghis Khan ordered one of his armies to see how far west they could penetrate before they were stopped, and they were not stopped at all. This was the Mongols' first raid into Europe, but not their last. Up to 40 million people were killed across Eurasia during his descendants' conquests, that is, 10% of the world population. His empire was now 4 times the size of Alexander the Great and twice the size of Roman Empire, but even this was not enough to satisfy his desires. So after ruling over such a huge part of land, how did he die? He wanted to be immortal, which was not possible. Scientific evidence suggests that perhaps 1 in 200 men alive today can trace their genetic lineage back to Genghis Khan. According to the legend, these were the last words of Genghis Khan. I have conquered forceps a large empire, but my life was too short to take the whole world, and that I leave to you. He died in 1227 AD. He appointed his son Ogedei to succeed him as Khan. Genghis Khan died without achieving what he believed was his destiny, to conquer the entire world. In the years after his death, his sons doubled the size of the empire. They returned to Europe and invaded Russia, Poland, and Hungary. But in 1242, approaching Vienna, the new Khan died. Mongol law decreed that all chiefs returned to elect a new leader, and Europe was spared from the Mongol terror. A century later, Genghis Khan's mighty empire began to crumble. His reputation has made him one of the history's immortals, a reputation enhanced by the mystery of his burial. It is said that every witness to his funeral cortege was executed to keep the site of the tomb a secret. Today, almost 8 centuries later, the burial place of Genghis Khan remains undiscovered. There is no grave, no mausoleum, no monument to his bloodthirsty conqueror and the most successful military commander the world has ever known. Apart from these contributions, there were some good contributions of Genghis Khan. In spite of being the most brutal warrior, Genghis Khan developed a golden empire. The stability of Mongol rule made the Silk Road flourish once more, allowing trade and cultural exchange between the East and the West, and its legacy forged Russia and China from warring princedoms into unified states. Most famously, Genghis adopted a system of smoke and burning torches to relay long-distance commands, as well as large drums and flags to give signals in the midst of combat. This allowed Genghis to issue commands to his forces even in the midst of the battle, making them incredibly mobile and able to respond to an evolving battle. A stunningly progressive leader For his time, Genghis also outlawed the tradition of earning promotions in either military or in government solely due to hereditary or ethnicity, and instead made it law that only merit would be used to judge the worthiness of a man. He was a great statesman and valued peace and prosperity as much as conquest. His law also forbade adultery, theft, and false witness. He enforced respect for the environment to treat the natural resources with great respect. Genghis Khan's empire also gave tax exemptions to religious organizations, something that would take centuries to be adopted by Western powers. Every religion was given great respect. He even established a mail system which would deliver packages and letters safely from as far as Europe all the way to the coast of China. So, this was about the greatest ruler of all times who ruled on half of the world anyone remembered today.